You don't get the label Black Sheep without doing something to earn it. Black sheep aren't bad, they just stand out from the crowd. They look at the status quo and say, we can do that better. And that's exactly what we do.
Big move down the inside for the
Oh,
lead
Lord,
from
Eli
Laura.
takes the lead.
It's going to come down to the finish. Kyle almost side by side, but a good exit will give Laura Eli the win here overall in the first round of the Porsche Sprint Challenge USA West Series.
It's hard to contain your excitement when you get something you've really wanted. Like the gold standard in automotive protection, WeatherTech floor liners. With deep sculpted channels and laser measured for total protection in the front, back, and even up the sides.
Dad, you're going viral.
What? WeatherTech me.
So don't be shy, enjoy. Order your premium American-made products at WeatherTech.com.
It's the third of 3 sprint races today here at Circuit of the Americas, but we still got one more, so hang tight. Hi, everybody. I'm Jeremy Scott. Riley Dickinson joins me in the booth. Once again, we'll have Joe Peak joining us. Riley, this is a little bit different conditions what we had yesterday, and Alex Premont's also going to join us as well, so we will have him on board. We'll have him and Riley kind of share the booth as well, but nonetheless, let's talk about this circuit real quick because this is going to, and I want to get both of your guys' opinions on this on our track map here as we have Alex pulled up. This is a very unique surface, and Alex, I believe you've raced here on both the short course and the long course, correct?
Yes, correct. I did, yeah. I raced Viet Supercar, I think it was 2012, something like this. Yeah, the track was kind of amazing. It was brand new, yeah, basically, yeah. So we came from Viet Supercar from Australia. It was amazing, but other than that, I mean, F1, they're coming here, all the series, I mean, they want to be on that track, yeah, because that's the most famous track in America, and you can see, yeah. So basically, should I do turn 1, turn 6?
Yeah, well, we got to talk about either or, because this is fantastic.
I mean, as you know, like here, it's like a very critical point of hard braking, late braking, turn 1, turn 11, turn 12. And then after that, going through the chicane, like 3, 4, 5, 6, it's so important, yeah, just to make sure that you can fill the gap with the guy in front of you. And then turn 15 also, like before the carousel, and turn 19, 20, which is so important, yeah, try to make a pass on the straight line. But great track, yeah. Nice to be here.
And of course, both of you gentlemen just came off of qualifying for the endurance race. Riley, you had a blistering lap in the 207 range. What was that like?
Yeah, I mean, it was a great lap from myself, obviously, but no, was super happy with that. The guys at BR did a fantastic job setting the car up properly. It was a little bit hectic there with the GT4s. Not necessarily they were doing anything wrong, just the speed differential between the GT4s and the Cup cars was quite a lot. So just being able to find a nice, clean gap in traffic was definitely important, but was able to put down a good lap, and we'll see what we're able to do this afternoon. All
right, let's talk about that in a little bit, but first let's take a look at our starting lineup as the cars are headed off for their pace lap. Paul Bocuse will be alongside Jared Thomas. Both of those drivers looking to see if they can avenge on their win, as Ashley Freiberg, the defending winner from yesterday, is alongside Conrad Geist. A great starting position for both MDK Motorsports drivers. We move off onto row number 3. David Musial 2.0. He sits alongside Therese Lelou. A great showing for her. Can she improve upon her race yesterday as we head off to row number 3? It's the Masters fastest qualifier, Joel Johnson in the 227. Daniel Bloom room in the 266. Joe Peak joins us as well. So but we're going to play musical microphones here as Mike Mim is alongside Niels Meissner in row number 5. Row 6 brings us to Scott Blend and John Gillen, both drivers in the Masters class. Row 7 is Charlie Peter. He'll have to come from the back, and going to be interesting to see if he can make his way through Niels Meissner with Tony Melito alongside him as well. Row 8 is Jody Miller alongside David Musial Sr. Let's see if he can keep his power steering about him today. Had some issues after lap 4. Eric Lapp, Mark Bowden make up row number 9. The 297 and the 246 are alongside each other with Frank Vitiello and Shane Leathers. A little bit farther back than what we see Shane in the 275, but I think he'll be able to make his way to the front. As the field working their way back through the back straightaway, Alessandro Chiacchetti will be alongside Tim Kesman. This is his second race of the year. What's going on here? Ashley Freiberg is pulled off the course. So this is the second problem for the pairing we'll see later today in the endurance race. First, we saw Laura Eli with issues as we go through our starting lineup. John Manship, Grady Willingham make up row number 12. Row 13 is Tom Herb and Greg Shermer. They're both in the 991 category. Francisco de Jesus and John Snyder are row number 14 as we see Freiberg doing a recycle. What is that like going down the grid, guys? And you're on your pace lap, and the car just gives up the ghost.
That's incredibly unfortunate, to say the least. Yeah, definitely a feel for her. Hopefully she's able to get it refired here. You see the hazard lights on, so there is a stall of sorts with the car. So, yeah, curious to see what's going on here.
Yeah, the field making their way around the circuit, a little bit of a gap through the stadium section. We'll see if we go. We are going to continue going full course yellow. I'm going to toss Joe Peak on here as well. I think he and I are going to have to do the musical chairs. But, Joe, nonetheless, this is not good for yesterday's winner.
Absolutely. It seems like it's not going well for her after it was, all roses yesterday, unfortunately. So as we come around, we'll carry on for another lap while they try to clear that car. That or hopefully get it going before she goes a lap down and should be able to rejoin the race. As a driver, guys, Niels, does this mess with you mentally when you're all ready to go and suddenly they're telling you, nope, we're going around a second time?
Well, I mean, that the process, I mean, it's the same way as when you have like a safety car, when you have a yellow on track. I mean, you have to be aware that there's so many unpredictable stuff that it's coming. And, it's unless. In racing, you can plan, and you know that the plan is going to never work. Yeah. So you have to be aware that, on that kind of situation, it doesn't mess up, but you have to reset yourself, say, all right, it's going to be like a different procedure, it's going to be shorter, so you have to plan stuff a little bit different.
Yeah, you certainly have to adapt to the conditions, right? I think it's a Mike Tyson quote, right? Everyone has a plan until they get punched, right? It's a little bit about what happened here, but just a quick point. So we see the timer has already started. So on this first lap, it's obviously under yellow, technically full course yellow, but the race has technically started. The time is starting to clock down a little bit. Ashley, unfortunately, is still stuck on the back straightaway, so yeah, very, very unfortunate there.
Yeah, it is kind of sad to see that happen with Freiberg as, she was looking really promising for this race.
So we'll see whether or not they are able to get going shortly here as the drivers find themselves doing that extra pace lap and now seeing the clock tick down. Looks like they've got a car trying to pick up Ashley's vehicle, stricken vehicle. The other thing that we are obviously concerned about is they will have to try and make sure that they can repair that car before we get to the endurance race later this afternoon. So that car is doing double duty out here this weekend.
Well, originally it was actually the 209 car of Laura Eli that was going to be in the Enduro. So I wonder now with her misfortune in the race, I wonder if they were planning on using Ashley's car, the 222. So, hopefully it's not a fatal problem here, but, that's definitely a story to follow up on for the Enduro.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that you make a good point. I'd forgotten that Laura also experienced trouble there at the end of her race for USA West. So, That Black Sheep Racing team not going to have a fun time potentially come the endurance race, but looks like they're starting to wheel around the flatbed as well. So they're going to get that car up there and unleash them soon. Bocuse, well, after he wound up having to settle for a third place last time, will he find himself with an opportunity to now take his first win in the 992 Pro-Am Series, or will Thomas be able to strike back and get himself the win that he wanted yesterday that he couldn't seem to bring home? And how about Conrad Geiss starting up as high as he did? I had a chance to talk to him yesterday, and it seemed as though he wasn't totally sure why he was quicker here today, Riley, but he said that he had some time to get testing in at Watkins Glen a couple weeks ago. Do you think that just that extra seat time for someone as green as him maybe helped him find a little bit before he showed up this weekend?
I'm sure it did. I mean, the more time that you can get with this car, the more time you can understand and develop your craft as a driver, it's certainly going to pay dividends. And, certainly if he was able to be at Watkins Glen for a 2-day test, albeit it's a different track, but, still going through the motions, doing your quali sims, doing your race sims, and just getting more and more seat time under your belt is certainly important. So definitely could probably look at that as a reason as to why he's so much quicker this weekend, but he's certainly making big progress step by step. He did a great job at Sebring, also at Barber. But yeah, he's certainly putting together a nice weekend for himself here.
So can he capitalize it here as we continue to wait under caution? I see the 222 car moving on our map a little bit, so I'd assume that it is on the truck bed, which means hopefully we will be getting going very shortly and not cut down too much. It looks like only about 5 minutes taken up of this race, at least so far. As long as we can get going at the end of this lap, that should mean a relatively short caution period. And yep, the car is gone. I don't see it on the flatbed though.
I think it might just be out of our shot here, potentially. Well, yeah, you can see on the screen up there, the 222. It's actually going through the infield. So, yeah, there it is.
Oh, okay,
right
so
there
they
on
didn't put it on the flatbed, yeah.
Yeah, just a flat toe. So, all good. So hopefully we're able to go green this time by. We'll look for the safety car lights to come out. Just a quick point before we get to go green here. So Niels Meissner in the 991.2 category, he's up to 9th overall, potentially inserting first in class. And then Joel Johnson as well, he's first in Masters category. He has some cars separated between himself and Scott Blend, who's second in class. And then same thing with Niels. He has a few cars between himself and Charlie Peter. So I bet you both those drivers are going to try and capitalize on that and just try and stay as far ahead as the class leader or class P2 behind them as much as possible. But yeah, it should be a very interesting start here.
All right, so we're coming down now around through the stadium section. I didn't see the lights off completely yet, but all the vehicles are off the track, so hopefully we should find ourselves some action here shortly as we watch and wait to see if we can get a picture of that pace car, see if those lights are out and if we're going back racing here. Field going by through that infield section. Yes, it looks like I saw the lights out on the pace car, and in fact they are going too wide, so they're going to be restarting this one and getting it going.
Yeah, that's where we get started for the...
Okay, as we're going to get ready to go racing now, finally, for the GT3 Cup Series. And the drivers, of course, just as antsy as we are to get going, coming out of the final corner. And drivers now find themselves on the front stretch.
Ooh, a little bit of popping out there at the back of the pack. We'll see what happens there as the field working their way past the finish line. They'll go to the start line for the start of the race as here we go. Race number 2 for GT3 races now. Finally green. 28 minutes left to go in this race. Bocuse with an interesting advantage. Thomas going to dive to the inside. Does Conrad Geiss try and make something happen? 2, 3 wide. Lulu poking her nose in there as well. Little bit of bumping and rubbing there near the middle of the pack.
Oh, look at Blend coming around the outside. He looks like he's going to get a few positions as we watch our top 2 now streak towards the S's section as Bocuse is being led by Thomas once again.
Charlie Peter makes his way to the 991 lead, so no surprise here that Thomas has gotten to lead. Now the chase is on, but look at who's in third place. It's Dave Musial 2.0, so great start by the younger Musial.
Yep, and he's going to be wanting to, I guess, avenge the Musial 1.0 from yesterday, who wound up getting a penalty after the race was over, losing his win, from what I understand. Meanwhile, coming up into the braking of turn number 11 and onto the backstretch. This one going to be critical, especially with everybody all packed together.
Peter's lost his lead, but hopefully this will be a good birthday present for Dad Hans. Peter, we want to wish him a happy birthday. Now they're 3 wide with Lelou. It looks like Meissner and Mim as well. Those 3 are going side by side going into turn number 12. And let's see if they come out as one, as Lelou, the later one, braking on the brakes. But this also helps Peters. They come around turn number 12 side by side. Actually, I'm sorry, that's not Lelou, that's Blend.
Yeah, that's Blend on the inside. Again, fighting a car that's not within his class. And it looks like he's eventually going to be able to ease on through for that one. Behind him, is that Melito? Yeah, that's Melito. That's also still in the fray.
Yeah, Melito looking pretty good. He's finally found that car under him. He had a tough weekend at Sebring, but everything started to click last round out at Barber Motorsports Park. Now we see Mike Mim trying to battle that 991 of Meissner, the Kelly Moss multicolored car, as they come around to complete the first lap in anger. Single file for the most part. Look at Gilliland. He's having a pretty good showing.
Yeah, Gilliland going to cross the line in 8th overall, but 2nd within that Masters class. Unfortunately for him, a very revved up Scott Blend is right behind him, and you cannot miss that fluorescent yellow.
Oh, look at Peter looking to the inside of trying to get 1, maybe 2 positions. Meissner has spun! So Meissner spun. He loses the lead. Was there any contact? We'll find out from race control here shortly, but the 152 waiting, sitting, trying to see if cars are going to finally end. Yes, they do. He gets a point in the right direction. Riley, what did you see?
Yeah, I mean, we just obviously caught the back end of that, so maybe there's a bit of contact there. Hopefully not, but I know Niels, he's going to be pretty frustrated with that regardless of what happened there. He had a bit of contact yesterday as well. That's the incident that we saw with him whenever he went off track in turn 1 yesterday. So, yeah, definitely going to be a little bit frustrated with that for sure, but hopefully we can get a replay of that.
A little bit of house cleaning here as well, as we're seeing the 222 of Ashley Freiberg out on the course. She's at least 1 lap down. But this is the battle for the lead, Joe, with Bocuse doing all he can to stay on the back of Thomas.
Yeah, he knows that he's given away that lead. He had that great opportunity in his hands, but it's not completely gone as long as he can hold on, because he'll remember from yesterday that Thomas seemed to kind of lose the tires. Granted, that was way, way hotter out there on the track with the sun beating down. So this might be a little bit of a different story. And plus, I'm pretty sure, Riley, I mean, any racing driver worth their salt is going to learn lessons from the previous race.
Certainly, no doubt. You know, obviously, Jared, they probably went back and looked at the video and the data and studied quite a lot as to why that fall off happened. But just an interesting point for today's race. So for race 1 yesterday, all the drivers had to start on their qualifying set of tires. Today, it was on a sticker set of tires. So there's probably going to be a little bit of games with that, maybe at the beginning phase of this race, trying to get the goodness of the tire out of it. So we'll look to see if Paul's able to continue pace on with Jared, or if there's going to be a little bit of separation here.
So we're seeing on our map that the 166 may be stopped off course in the S's. Let's see if we can confirm that through our timing, because we'll see Meissner fall down the list here shortly. And we're waiting for it to refresh. And yeah, Meissner and Peter both falling off. So Melito right now, your leader in 991.
Interesting.
So there must have been some sort of contact between Meissner and Peter there.
Yeah, obviously don't want to assume anything, but I think you're right.
It certainly looked like I saw a little bit of body work kind of along the grounds there at one point. So, yeah, it seems like a good assumption as we watch Blend now catching up to Lelou. Scott up into the lead here in our Masters category. Or excuse me, into second in our Masters category. We've got Johnson up in front of him with a number of cars, including Lelou, separating the two of them. So he's got to try and overtake some cars out of class to see if he can get to his rival.
Yeah, and Therese looking pretty good out there. So we have one car into the pits. We see Meissner is one of those cars. I think I saw another white GT3 make their way into the pits. Look at Conrad Geis, though. He's looking pretty racy as he goes around. Alex, you've actually been in the same tent. as Niels Meissner. What is his mentality going through this this incident, you think? Because we've seen him near the front all season long.
Yeah, I mean, that's a hard question for me because, I mean, I'm just kind of new of the Sprint Challenge, Yokohama Series, so obviously that's my first event on the weekend, but I mean, just have to, to be aware that it's stick and get your position back and, just make the best job that what he could do, basically, so... Yeah, sorry about that.
And let's talk about this because you're not used to coming into a sprint format. Closest sprint format you've had is a supercar. So what kind of a mentality shift is this for you as a driver coach to come in and coach somebody for a shorter race?
I mean, obviously, track position is so important. So you need to make sure that for the quali you have to be there because track position, the earlier you start, better position. The race is kind of a little bit easier. There's less drama, but you have to push hard, especially on those car 992 Cup. I mean, it's a great series. All the drivers, they are pushing hard, even though that they have ABS and TC. It's a good series, for gentleman drivers, they're pushing themselves and lean on the tires and feeling how much they can push and how much you see side by side here.
That was Conrad that was trying his best to get by Johnson. Again, not within class, but Geis is trying to run away from Bloom, who's threatening him for his 4th place right now. Kind of surprised that Johnson was fighting for it that hard because, yes, he's leading the class, but it seems like Blend isn't close enough that I think he's a problem right now.
No, and I think it's a situation of looking in the mirrors and seeing that, I've got a competitor behind me. You really can't tell that easily whether or not it is an in-class position because you can only see the mirrors, and with those mirrors, your rearview mirror, you're not going to see too much. Race Control is also investigating the incident between Meissner and Peter. We should have a recourse here shortly as Johnson goes a little wide. Geis able to take advantage. He's able to muscle his way down the back straightaway.
But the most important stuff on that kind of fight, you need to have the awareness who is next to you, the coexistence about the car side by side, and always checking your mirror. So it might be a 3 wide on the braking at turn 12.
Yeah, and of course, Riley Wars, a little bit of contact there between Bloom and Geis. Bloom tried to make that advantage happen. How low of a risk move is that for somebody, especially into turn number 12?
Yeah, I mean, for sure it took, I would say, a little bit too much, especially it's a late tap on the rear bumper. It's not that big, but still though, I mean, you have to be aware on that kind of stuff, because you can damage your front radiator and lose some water and then end the race, So that was a small tap, obviously, but you have to be careful, especially because he saw that maybe he could get 2 spots. He got 1, but you have to be aware sometimes. You feel you get a window open, you go there, but you have to be aware and just be under control on those kind of situations.
Well, Race Control has come down with a penalty. It's a drive-through for the 166, and I don't see him off the S's, so he might be back on track, so we'll see if he ends up coming down onto the straightaway. Conrad Geis still ahead of Daniel Bloom, Joe, and going to be interesting to see how much wider Geis makes himself, especially after that little love tap in 12.
I mean, the big relief that I have is he touched the corner of the car. The last thing you want is them to damage the suspension. Either the geometry of it and the handling is going to be off, or just straight up take it out. I thought it was going to be worse than it actually was in the end. But now he knows that he's gotten into the head of Conrad. Conrad knows he's there and that he's going to try and fight him for it.
And Riley, with this being one of Conrad's first seasons in professional racing, he's really, in the past couple of weekends, really started to improve, and now we're seeing an incident like that where it may have taken a rookie, as we see Scott Blend pop to the inside of Joel Johnson. That's a battle for the Masters. We'll hold off on that question as we see who's ahead, and it is Scott Blend. So move Blend to the lead in the Masters class for now. But look at that, 1, 2, 3. That is the battle for the Masters class, Joe, where Blend has to hold off 2 great defenders in Johnson and Gilliland.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure that we're going to see Johnson try and strike back here coming into the braking. He's going to show himself as they come down into there. He'll get to the inside. Blend gives him space. Gilliland says, that's too much space. Give me a spot. They're going to go side by side coming down into the stadium. Gilliland can't quite do it as he almost shoves him out of the way.
And there's the in-car replay that we see from that, where Gilliland with a little bit of a left tap on Blend, but nonetheless, so Blend trying to get the lead in Masters. He loses a position in aggregate with Gilliland taking that second spot. Look at Joel Johnson, though, opening up that gap. Riley, your thoughts on that, because I saw your reaction to that whole mess.
Yeah, I mean, I was over here smiling quite a bit, but yeah, I mean, I think with John, he was maybe a little bit frustrated that going into 13, he kind of got shoved off to driver's left, and he had to take a braking, and there goes Scott Blend down the inside.
Yeah, Scott Blend's going to go the inside, but Gilliland, a little bit of a wiggle coming off of turn number 20, but that gives him enough time to set up for that. Anyway, the point I was trying to make before we had that incident, we saw Blend try to set up for the over-under, but Gilliland just taking that foot right in the door.
Yeah, I mean, he definitely took advantage, no doubt. You know, the contact that happened there, and let's say in 13, 14 has been resolved, right?
Yeah.
So it's no harm, no foul. Just basically just John saying, hey, I'm here, you know, just making sure that everyone's aware. But, yeah, so going back to Conrad and Dan Bloom, so it's kind of cool because Dan Bloom, this is his first season in a 992 Cup as well. Last year he was in the .2 Cup. So I know he's certainly been putting in the work, and obviously he has a great program with Apex driving events, and you know, for all of us, for whether it be in Sprint Challenge, Carrera Cup, but also in open competition, we utilize his stuff, you know, quite regularly. So cool to see him up there giving a good fight to Conrad, and hopefully they're able to have a good battle for the rest of the race here.
Interesting to note that Conrad and Daniel are under investigation for the contact, so we'll see what comes of that.
Yeah, no surprise with the way that race control's been handing out penalties for contact that we might see some sort of incident responsibility here in the next couple of minutes.
Also some track limits for the 248, but we've been getting those a dime a dozen out here, as it does look like Johnson is now very well under control of this trio, not nearly as close as they were, although Gilliland once again kind of showing himself to Blend, just making sure that he doesn't forget he's there and he's a real threat.
Well, Gilliland's just getting a little closer because he knows how bright Blend's paint scheme is. He just wants to say, hey, I am here and I'm a little closer than you think I am.
Well, coming down through the stadium, can he set him up maybe for something into turn one? He's certainly hovering on that rear bumper, making sure that if there's any little slip up from that Joker livery car, he'll be able to pick up the pieces quite quickly. They'll come around to the penultimate turn. The more they fight, the more that you're going to see that bright red 227 start to scamper away from them. Those were our leaders that just flashed past, who remain, I'd say, uncomfortably close if you're Thomas.
Yeah, he is. And, you know, normally we see Jared Thomas, who said this yesterday, so I feel like a broken record. Normally we see Jared Thomas just run away from the field, but this weekend it seems the MDK Motorsports drivers have his number. And Riley, for someone like Jared Thomas, who has just been used to getting out front and dominating, not only in this series, but in MX5 Cup, this has got to be a different feeling for him.
It probably definitely is a different feeling, at least in the Cup car, you know, but, you know, we see in the MX5 Cup races how intense those races are. So, you know, yeah, whenever he is out in front, there's constant action. So this is going to be no different for him, most likely. The only thing that I will say is that if we look on the tracker here, we do have a 991.2 coming up. Potentially, there he is in shot. Looks like Jared just abused some track limits there, but hopefully, you know, race control didn't see that for his sake. But, yeah, so they're going to catch up on some lap traffic here. Hopefully Paul is able to use that to his advantage and see what he can get done here. But it's definitely going to make things potentially a bit interesting.
So race control has come down with the incident responsibility. It will go to the 266 of Daniel Bloom. He'll receive a 10-second post-race time penalty. And another incident that race control is watching is between the 152 and the 149 between Meissner and Schirmer. So Meissner getting in a little bit of trouble here, Joe.
Yeah, so I wonder if that's what, you know, sent him around. So I guess they're going to look into that and see if there's somebody to blame in that situation. In the meantime, we're still watching our overall leaders. Will Bocuse maybe be able to use this lapped car as a bit of a pick here? Or is Thomas going to be able to successfully navigate past the 991 without any sort of hiccups? Oh, he's in a bit of an awkward spot.
Yeah, and I think that's what Thomas needed, is Bocuse looks at the inside of De Jesus And that's going to not shake him loose from Thomas. So Thomas tried to use him as a pick, Riley. And the young driver out of Florida looking pretty good.
And Niels Meissner, drive-through penalty for incident responsibility.
Interesting.
Okay. Well, that's not what I expected with him winding up the one turned around, but he is...
Well, this may have been a second incident that Meissner was involved in.
Yeah.
Because that was turn 16. So, yeah, it was definitely another incident.
Okay.
I think you're right on that.
Good point. So we must have missed that one. So the lap traffic did not work out for Paul, but Jared has now been able to run away. It looks like maybe a couple tenths farther up the road. And Dave Musial back behind them, about 10 seconds back. We haven't really mentioned him much, but he's looking at a podium as it stands because Conrad is a whole 4 seconds behind him. He's kind of in that lonely spot where he's not under threat, but if he plays his cards right, he's got a handy little podium to celebrate.
He really does. And what's interesting in the in-car camera with Jared Thomas, you saw the throttle at 107%, so he's really putting that through the floor.
I mean, even like on the braking, you could see that the car was kind of
Yeah.
a little bit loose.
Yeah.
So, yeah, he has to be a little bit more patient, especially on that long straight back to make sure it goes on power, because the earlier you go, the more you create some push on the steer.
Now, how are the fall off for the tires here? Especially, you're in Cayman, but what's the tire fall off like for you?
I mean, Cayman, it's pretty a lot, because the size of the tire, they are a little bit smaller than on the Porsche. But I mean, you have to be like super careful, because I mean the track temp is really high, tire degradation is high, and we are asking so much on the front tires that sometimes you have to be aware that you have to unwide as quick as possible. Try to remove a bit of tire wear from the rear tires. Like you can see the rear of those cars. They are loading a lot, and the more you abuse on the tires, the less it's going to be easier, especially at the end of the race. Obviously, there's like 10 minutes remaining with one lap, so obviously Paul has to push and try to fill the gap right now. Try to put under pressure Thomas. Try to make him like a small mistake and try to sneak inside. It would be nice.
That is the voice of Alex Prima. We also have Riley Dickinson in the booth with us, Jeremy Scott and Joe Peak calling the race action for you. It's been a busy race here in GT3 race number 2. We've seen a lot of incidents, a lot of off-course excursions, lots of track limits, Joe. It's this weekend has been nothing short of action.
Yeah, it has, and it's interesting that it's a different MDK car that's now still threatening to try to take the win away and has been just hovering on the back of Thomas for some time now. But because this race was shortened by that the car of Ashley being stricken on the pace lap, he's basically got less time, and it's happened very quickly. I'm actually kind of surprised we're already at 10 minutes left in this thing.
Yeah, and no surprise here, the Jeff Abel-led crew actually doing work to keep the young driver up near the front and on pace with Thomas, because, Riley, we've seen nothing but great showings from the Indiana-based driver, Jared Thomas.
Certainly, and I think, it's obviously maybe a bit too early to say, but I think they certainly, looked back at what happened yesterday, just whether if it was with the rear tire falling off or whether it was with the front tire. I feel like just from watching, it was probably the rears that was giving him the most trouble, but, they certainly have a bit of better handle on that today. So, looking forward to the end of this race, all he has to do is just keep doing what he's doing, keep hitting his marks, not overshooting any corners, really focusing on the exits of these corners here. Obviously they lead to fairly long straightaways, turn 20, exit turn 1, exit 11. So really just making sure that he puts everything in a nice, smooth, presented lap, and, he should be able to be quite comfortable here.
Leaders coming off of 19 and into 20. We're taking a look at this battle. It's just Conrad guy's trying to get around De Jesus. He's got his local coach Eric Foss here this weekend, De Jesus does. And it's kind of showing, Joe. De Jesus has been just a little bit faster this weekend, it seems.
A little bit too fast through that corner.
Just a little.
Yeah, went a little bit wide coming out of 19. I'm sure that'll be just another knock on his incident, his off-track incidents. But as we watch behind him, looks like a couple of our 992s getting ready to try and head on by. Bloom, we know, has a time penalty as he's going to signal him by. And Leloup might just need to stick to the rear bumper instead of having to overtake and get, I think, what might be your second or third top 5 of the season.
Yeah, and that's probably her best bet. I know I talked to her. She was worn out after yesterday's race. I think today might be just a little bit better because, as we said, it's a little bit cooler. The sun's not beating down. Here's Leloup, Riley.
Yeah, I was just pointing out that we have the lap traffic now for Joel Johnson through the S's, so if he gets stuck behind that lap traffic, that's actually going to close up the gap to Scott Blend and John Gillen. Here we see it now.
There it is right there, yeah.
Yep.
Well, of course, also it doesn't help that Johnson went off course just a little bit, as now De Jesus, he's really messing up this Masters class battle. Ooh, EFR's not going to like that one too much, but look at this. This has given Blend new life as he looks to the inside of turn number 11 for the battle for the Masters lead, and they're side-by-side coming out of 11. Nice battle, but still, they're still side-by-side down that long back straightaway. Riley, how do you prepare yourself when you're side-by-side with someone through there?
Well, it looks like Joel has a little bit of an edge here, so what he should do is, what he's going to do is going to go defend for turn 12 the best he can. You can only make one move down the back straightaway whenever you go into the corner, and he's definitely clearly ahead, so should be good here as long as he doesn't miss the corner. Which
Oh, there it is.
There you go. Now Scott, he's going to have an opportunity here potentially, but doesn't take it, and then, you can certainly see with Joel, he's starting to overdrive a little bit. He's starting to have the pressure get to him just with Scott behind, and obviously that cadence with having the lap car through the S's has certainly kind of put him off his game a bit. So the best thing he can do right now is just take a nice deep breath in the car, focus on hitting his marks, and he's going to be able to pull away again, hopefully, off of Scott Blend. But I'm looking at John Gillen right here. I'm sure he's smiling in the car right now. Hopefully these guys start fighting.
Yeah, he's waiting to see what happens there. And I've got to say this too, Riley. That stadium section's very hard to pass because you think you've got to pass, but then again, the next corner, you're not necessarily set up for the right line.
Exactly. We were talking about this a little bit yesterday, right? If you go down the inside but you overshoot, the car on your outside can then cross up underneath you, and it can be a very much a nip and tug section through there. And the designers of this track, they did a great job of having a slow but also fairly technical section that promotes really good racing. For F1 you see it, but also for Cup racing, GT racing like this, it promotes even better racing just because the cars aren't nearly as fast. They don't rely on the aero as much. And you see these guys are having a pretty good scrap here.
Yeah, we see Joel going, using all the track, Joe, but Johnson's still doing his best to hold back at the 245 at Blend.
Yeah, I'm kind of impressed that he's been able to do this, considering, like we saw the mistakes that were starting to happen from that number 227. So Blend is going to have to try and be savvy here the way that he's been playing this defense, and no lap traffic this time to help him out. More so, I think, because if he tries to make a pass on Joel now this time, Gilliland is absolutely going to pounce on him.
Yeah, Gilliland is just right there and waiting, right in the mirrors of Blend once again. So it's this battle for the lead, a three-way battle for the lead. And we got another battle way back there as well. Not sure who that was. That might have been Melito, Musial, and Miller. We'll check up on that here in just a little bit, but still that gap has opened up between the first and second Masters between Johnson and Blend.
So coming down into the braking just a little too far apart this time between them. We're going to check back in with Thomas and Bocuse, and Paul has cut it down to 0.4 of a second once again. So it seems like he's back up on the horse, but we're sub 5 minutes to go in the race. The clock is ever ticking. He's got to try and do something soon here, or else he's going to run out of time.
And as they cross the line, I'm going to say about 3 laps to go. Well, yeah, 3 laps to go in this race. So it's still go time for Thomas. 60 turns left to go. Now to 59. So anything can happen here with that. We've seen how Thomas, Riley, it seems like near the back end half of the S's, his car likes to get a little swirly.
It does. I mean, there's a lot of energy going into the tire, going through the car, through this section, the left, right. The car is constantly working. And again, we talked about it a little bit yesterday. From the exit of turn 1 all the way down to the exit of turn 10, which is the straightaway just before 11 there, your hands are always moving. There's never a chance to actually take a full deep breath and actually have your hands fully relaxed and have the car settle. You're always working side to side, back and forth. But yeah, I mean, Paul's certainly doing everything that he can just to try and put pressure on Jared Thomas here.
And Alex also had a point, because one thing that I found interesting too right there is coming off of turn number 9, he goes just a little wide off 11, he was on the brakes coming off the corner.
Yeah, actually, you could see like turn 8 and 9. I mean, he had a better run and a very good exit. So you know that out of turn 9, if you have a good exit, then you get closer into turn 11. Then you're putting more pressure like to turn 12 and 13, 14. Yeah, so obviously there's like 2 more laps, and you can see right now. I mean, he's just showing a little bit his nose, just putting some pressure on Thomas. That's the great stuff to do. Yeah, but. Good driving.
Yeah, gets a little wide there coming out of 13. That gives Bocuse a chance, Joe, to catch up to him, heading through the stadium section and into the carousel.
And it's funny because when you see those 2 cars, different line, like in 13, you could see that Bocuse was braking a little bit later, a little bit more inside, maybe later on power, but that's why that maybe get also like a less tire degradation going through the run. So there's a lot of technique, like when you go through 30 minutes, 35 minutes. Yeah, he got oversteer right now, but he's fighting. Yeah, for sure. He wants to get that win. Yeah, so he's pushing. He's putting all the energy possible on his task, and that's the right things to do, especially 2 laps to go.
Yeah, 2 laps to go with this race with Thomas and Bocuse. 1 and 2, half a second separate both of them, Joe. But this is a battle of trying to make sure that when one makes a mistake, the other can capitalize.
Well, and we're talking about trying to hold on to those tires. I mean, whatever he's held on to, now he's got to use them. Like we said, 2 laps left to go. There's no more saving here. There's all just taking and spending of what you've held on to. Does he have enough to try and threaten Thomas to get by? He's already getting some mistakes out of him. So I think Paul's in a good position. I think he's got the higher ground, if you will. He just has to try and capitalize on it.
Bocuse is trying to bide his time as he comes heading toward the hairpin. It's still Thomas and Bocuse 1 and 2 in the Masters class. That battle's kind of thinned out just a little bit. Johnson opening up a 1.3 second lead over Scott Blend. Molito in a class of his own in 9.91, but teammate Tom Herb actually sitting in second place. De Jesus also in third.
Down the backstretch once again, Paul didn't quite get the exit that he needed on that one, so he's going to hover behind by a few car lengths. Haven't seen third place because he's 17 seconds behind, but Dave Musial with a handy podium on the cards here today. Once again, off the apex for that 296 machine.
Thomas doing all he can to keep Bocuse behind him. They'll miss that apex just by a little bit, Riley. Kind of interesting to watch this line progress throughout the day.
Yeah, and Alex is certainly spot on. Through that section there that we see, you can do varying lines, right? Basically, it's not so much like one line is, okay, this is the fastest way, the other line is the slower way. It depends on what's happening inside that race car, right? What they're feeling with the tire, how is the car handling? Is it a bit of understeer, a bit of oversteer, right? And also, quite frankly, time of day as well. The track's going to change. The overall grip of the car is going to change. So, just adapting to the conditions is definitely something to look at there.
Eyes on the start stand as we see the white flag come out. It is go time for both Thomas and Bocuse as they are trying their hardest to win here at Circuit of the Americas. Joe, the gap's still 5.9 seconds between first and second, but Dave Musial trying to see if he can keep Conrad Geist behind him. In spite of it being 2.06 seconds last time by, it's gotten closer this time by.
Yeah, and so Conrad's set off to see if he can maybe get a podium here with 1.2 left to go, a single lap. Does he have the pace to reel him in? And let's not forget about, Gilliland got by Blend.
Yeah, Riley, good eye there.
Yeah, I saw them come through here. So yeah, that was definitely a good thing for Gilliland, and we'll see if he can chase down Joel, but it's going to be pretty tough to do. Yeah, huge understeer.
Yeah, huge understeer there out of Thomas. So Thomas's tires are starting to go away. What is that like? Where the tires are going away? Hold on. Here comes the 271 of Bocuse as we have cars going through turn number 1. Let's see who is in the lead. It looks like it's still the 296 according to our map. There it is. All right, let's watch this battle for the lead as they come down turn number 12. Joe, Bocuse with a look to the inside, so that's his first look. Can he make another look here going into turn number 12? Bocuse, heavy on the brakes. He's going to look to the inside. We're full course yellow.
No,
we're full course yellow.
Oh, and now he tries to make the move.
Tries to make the move under yellow, but it's too late. Looks like Joel Miller is our car, according to our maps, around the S's. So something there must have happened. That's probably why, Riley, we had that camera at turn 1. If we can get back to that and see what the issue is, we got our drone looking. Might be a little bit more under the drone right there, as we see there.
Oh, no wonder.
That is so that's a 166. So impact there for the 210 of Miller. That is not a good place to go off, Riley.
No, it's certainly not a good place. I mean, thankfully we have quite a bit of the tire bundles there, so it was obviously the energy is going to be dampened as big as possible. But yeah, that's certainly a hard hit. You can see the Armco, the retainer, obviously that was punched out. But yeah, hopefully he's okay. That's a hard hit.
Yeah, that's a hard hit. Well, your winner overall is Jared Thomas, so he gets his first win of the weekend. Paul Bocuse. If it were not for the yellow, I think we would have had a great race on our hands there to the finish. Dave 2.0 Musial gets the third place, his first podium of his Porsche Sprint Challenge career, and of course we have the safety crews on the course. As Joel Johnson will take the win in Masters, Gilliland second, Scott Glenn third. But, of course, obviously our thoughts are right now with the 210. Joe, I know you've got to go down to the podium, so we'll give that to Alex Prema. We'll get the final thoughts of both drivers. Alex, go ahead.
Sorry, excuse me.
Yeah, go ahead. No, just go, let's talk about the race. Because that was...
there was a good finish. Unfortunately, we couldn't see until... I mean, it would have been nice to see them like side by side until the last turn, because I think that would have been the case, but... it's okay. I mean, it's nice still to finish second. I mean, it's good for Thomas. Whatever. But what a great race again. It was tight for all the classes. I mean, you can see at the front they were like fighting for the class. On the second class they were fighting too. Yeah. So it was good racing. It's always good racing, especially at COTA. I mean, it's pretty warm outside, but just looking forward for the endurance race at 3.
Yeah. Yeah, so what I'll say is, I mean, obviously the race is going to finish with Jared and then Paul and Dave Musial, but what I will say is that move on the last lap was so eerily similar to Ashley and Jared yesterday.
Yeah.
So going down the back straightaway, obviously Paul, he had the run, he pulls to the inside, and just like yesterday, Jared, he never actually defended. He actually just kind of left the inside open.
Yeah.
And in my opinion, Jared actually got quite lucky. Let's say that the yellow flags weren't out yet and he knew that, okay, it's still green, but got quite lucky with the fact that yellow came out and he was obviously still ahead. And then also for Paul in 11, just going down the inside and maybe compromising his run a little bit coming onto the back straightaway. But quite interesting to see how that all played out. Very similar to yesterday, but huge congrats to Jared Thomas and the JTR team. I know they obviously were wanting that one yesterday, so they definitely got a bit of revenge on that, so to speak. And to Paul, he obviously had a great points weekend as well. So I think that's going to be really good for them in the championship. And then to the Masters winners, Joel Johnson and then John Gillen, obviously in second, Scott Blunt P3. And then also a bit of drama, so to speak, for the 9-on-1s.
Yeah, let's run through that final rundown. Jared Thomas, your winner overall. Paul Bocuse sits in second place. Dave Musial in third. Then it's Conrad Keiss. Therese Lelou with a good fifth-place finish. Your 992 Masters goes to Joel Johnson, John Gillen, and Scott Blend round out that podium. Daniel Bloom and Mike Mim round out the top 10. Great showing for the driver who continues to run all around the world in the Porsche platform. Now on to 11th, as we will see Dave Musial Sr. He will be your 11th place finisher. As we get the results back up here shortly. There we go. Mark Bowden finishes in 12th. 13th, your 991 winner, Tony Melito. Then Shane Leathers, Eric Lapp, Tim Kesman, John Manship, Frank Fratello, Grady Willingham, and Tom Herb will join teammate Tony Melito on the 991 podium. Gentlemen, it's been an honor and a pleasure. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much. Yeah. It was a pleasure, too.
That was fun.
So we're going to take a long break, and as the gentleman said, 3 o'clock we'll have our first ever Porsche Endurance Challenge race here on YouTube, Flow Racing and at COTA. Until then, stay safe. Make sure you're drinking plenty of fluids here at the track. Take care. We'll see you in a bit.